So I have to be careful with time, because I have to leave enough time for my better half to speak afterwards. And we're going to focus a bit today on the Holy Land, and as you all know, incredible tragic circumstances there. We ourselves were part of a peace initiative that our Peace Federation began in 2003 and lasted until 2008. How many people in this room went on one or more of those peace initiatives? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We began during what was called the Second Intifada. If any of you know that phrase, it was when there was incredible tension. Bombs were going off, people were being shot, and it was really tense. So our first trip we went in 2003. I think there were 2 or 3 initiatives during that year. And my first experience was going with a group of about, 50 or 60 of us from the UK. And it was a learning curve, a steep learning curve. That's why we use that title, In Search of Peace, a learning experience. We learned so many things, all kinds of different things. So I found myself with Patricia and 50 or 60 other people at Stansted Airport, all sitting in a group waiting to board a flight to Tel Aviv in Israel. And the Israeli security came and they said, "Who's in charge?" And nobody put their hand up, so I somehow became in charge. And one of the guys came to me, he said, and looked at everybody, he said, "How do you know this person? How do you know this person? How do you know this person?" Boom, 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 like that. It was really took me back. And I started to learn about, Israeli security. They have arguably for good reason, they have one of the tightest security systems in the world, as you know. And that was part of my learning curve. From that point onwards, I had several other experiences like that, really startling experiences where you had to really think quickly on your feet. Not easy at all. Our kind of ethos in our peace federations is to try to bring people together and be a force for goodness and peace physically. I think COVID and these things have made us two of the main reasons why we've become a bit distant from one another. But our peace initiatives in the Holy Land were called Heart to Heart. So we try to bring people, particularly from the Abrahamic faiths, Jewish, Muslim and Christian, together and then be a force for goodness and peace in the Holy Land. So this is one group of, sorry we didn't have time to prepare slides, this is one group of ladies who were part of a group of 16 who went from Birmingham, people of different faiths. And when we arrived in Tel Aviv each time, we had to go through a lot of security, partly because of our Muslim brothers and sisters. We could spend 3, 4, 5 hours trying to get through security, having mobile phones checked and this, that and the other. And it was really not an easy experience for all of us that time. So when we came back in, I think it was 2004 or 5, I went to our friend, I don't know if any of you know Ruth Jacobs, she represents the Jewish community in the West Midlands. I'm not sure if she still does that. And I said, "Ruth, can you write a letter for us for the Israeli security in Tel Aviv, telling them who we are, what we're doing, why we're coming, and so on." So she wrote a letter for us. And the Israeli embassy in London agreed to write that letter. All of our names are here in Hebrew, that group of 16 who were going. And this was sent ahead of us to Tel Aviv, so they knew we were coming. We went through security in 30 minutes, just like that. So that taught me you need to make friends on, all sides, both sides, if you really want to try to be a force for good. And that's what we tried to do when we had the marches for peace in the Holy Land. There were, on this occasion, well over 1,000, not sure exactly how many, from all over the world, Jewish, Muslim and Christian brothers and sisters, rabbis, imams, Christian ministers from America. And we wanted to walk through the streets of Old Jerusalem. Very intense, narrow streets. The Jewish security, when we wanted to do that, said, you can't do this. It's still during very tense times. They said, it's not possible. You can't do this in these circumstances, this number of people. So our rabbis came to the fore, negotiated with their own security to allow us to continue. And then when we got to Al-Aqsa, any of you been to Al-Aqsa? Any of our Muslim friends been to Al-Aqsa? Not yet? Would you like to go?
Yes.
Okay, we'll try and arrange that then if we restart these initiatives. So we went to the Western Wall, we could pray there, and then the imams in our group from different parts of the world had made friends with the imams in Al-Aqsa, so we could go up onto Temple Mount. If you can see the Dome of the Rock there, and Al-Aqsa Mosque. And we were all able to go into Al-Aqsa. Jews, Muslims, Christians, men, women, everybody. It was absolutely breathtaking, unique. Don't know if I've got a picture of that here. All of us in Al-Aqsa, men, women, Christians, Jews, Muslims, everybody. Can you imagine? A few months later, we couldn't do that. Security cracked down again. But we could do together what we couldn't do separately. That's the point. So that's part of our ethos of working, bringing people together like this, heart to heart, and then try to do something for the public good. We also went, any of our Christian brothers and sisters, on Galilee, the Lake Galilee. We went to Gethsemane. You'll be familiar with the Garden of Gethsemane. This is a tree that reputedly was there when Jesus prayed in Gethsemane. An olive tree. Still standing, incredible. And baptism in the Jordan. And so the Christian kind of experience. But then we walked together. This is Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial Museum. And our Muslim brothers and sisters, some of them felt difficult to go there to greet relatives of those who died in the Holocaust. But others, this is one of them. I can show you a picture of, anybody ever heard of Rahana Sadiq?
Yeah.
And that's her laying a flower at the memorial and then greeting Jewish relatives of people who died in the Holocaust. And people were so moved, they were absolutely moved by that example of Naya Sultana also, who's another one. And this is on overlooking from East Jerusalem, overlooking Temple Mount, the Bridge of Peace, women's Bridge of Peace ceremony, a Jewish and Rahana, two ladies making friends with each other in those difficult circumstances. So we tried to do together, again, what we couldn't do separately, and to build friends with the other on the other side. And Patricia will talk in a few minutes about the Bereaved Families Forum, the Parent Circle and Families Forum, where Jewish and Muslim families who've paid the ultimate price are working together. And she'll also talk about fear. I realized through my experiences with the Jewish security, a lot of how they are is motivated somehow by fear. And this kind of harshness and rigidity and strictness and severity is due to fear, living in fear. And Patricia will talk about an experience she had that almost proves the existence of God at 36,000 feet, relating to this fear when she was in an airplane coming back. Finally, we met very prominent people, and we met very humble, ordinary people. So this is, anybody recognize this? The separation wall. Can you imagine? That wall between Israel and the West Bank and Gaza. It's a horrendous, horrific thing that's been built to separate people so that you can't get to know the other person on the other side and their reality. But we were able to do that. We went through the wall and we had meals. All of our hundreds of people, we split up into small groups, 3, 4, and we went into homes of the Palestinian people and shared a meal with them and heard about their pain and their reality. At the bottom end, this was a Christian family in Bethlehem. There's another story which some of you have heard, where the girls in this family, they took me into the garden and they had chickens, and they found an egg that had been laid, and I told them, one of them gave me this egg. I said, if I get this back to Birmingham, I'll cook this egg, I'll take a picture, and I'll send this picture back to you, this fried egg. But then I had to get that egg through Israeli security. It's not simple, but I managed to do it. I managed to get that egg back to Birmingham, intact, without being broken and without being found, and I cooked it and sent the picture back to that family in Bethlehem. But these kind of things, just to keep that connection, taking risks for peace. I don't think I would have been imprisoned if they found the egg, but so many people are willing to take risks for peace. And we should be like that as well. It can be small things, it can be big things. So all our brothers and sisters coming on these initiatives were taking a risk for peace. And finally, we met people at the top end. So this is Yasser Arafat. If you remember him, if you knew of him, he was the leader of the Palestinian people. He was for me, like a grandfather figure, not a political leader. There's Patricia on the other side meeting Ehud Barak. He was the former Prime Minister of Israel. So we met people at the top end. And the last person I would mention is Bishop Ria. He was the Bishop of Jerusalem and the Middle East Diocese at that time. And so we decided to invite him to come to Birmingham, or to come to the UK. He went to London, then he came up to Birmingham. And we introduced, this is here in this room. He met a beautiful Jewish lady, Marjorie, who was so open. Her daughter was teaching in Ramallah, so open to Muslim brothers and sisters. Just be patient. So, as my wife just reminded me, and as I was about to say anyway, we took Bishop Ria to the council house. He met the tallest Lord Mayor in Birmingham's history. Anybody know his name? Conservative Lord Mayor? Do you remember him at all? Randall Brew, his name. And he had just about the shortest wife in council history. And he was so moved by Bishop Ria that he said, this person has to speak. So he arranged for Bishop Ria to speak in the council house to about 200 people. He also met Christian leaders from St. Martin's Cathedral and the president of the Methodist Church. So we tried to give exposure and a platform. We like advocacy, giving people the chance to speak about what's going on over there. Patricia will talk about the Families Forum. We also tried to twin this hospital in Bethlehem, a baby hospital, Caritas Baby Hospital. We wanted to twin that with Birmingham's Children's Hospital. Again, to make this link. And members of the hospital here, they went to Bethlehem, and I think they got involved in some telemedicine and some assistance there. So that's just a few ways in which we've been working, taking risks for peace and trying to bring people together for peace. So if we start these initiatives again, I hope that some of you will come with us. We hope that this can be a force for good in the future again. So I'll let Patricia take over now. I've come slightly over my time, but I'll invite Patricia to speak.
Thank you. Hello everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm not such a good speaker compared with David. For me, I just want to share a little bit about my experience over this time. I went 7 times to the Holy Land. We say holy, but it's not that holy for the moment. And my first trip I went, that was the beginning of 2000, and I was so much idealistic, because I knew here I have a lot of Muslim friends, I have some Jewish friends, and we all want to work for peace. At that time there was no difficulty, and I said, I really want to take part, because all my life I always wanted to do something for peace. This is my passion in my life, to be honest. And I'm quite really distressed by what is going on now in the world. That's why I wanted to organize that and talk about the peace work. And so the first time when I went to the Holy Land, I had my heart was going to the Palestinians, to be honest, and I could feel their hospitality. They were so warm. You know, you were treated with so much hospitality, and I really wanted to help on a humanitarian level the people. So we did a lot of fundraising to help there. But to be honest, I felt nothing towards the Jewish people. I really felt they were very harsh and very strong. And I felt, in the end, I failed my mission for peace, because to be a peacemaker, you have to try to bring people together from both sides, which is very challenging. Very challenging. When your heart goes to one side, how do you do it? And in the end, I really pray. I remember very vividly, I pray God, and I say, I'm so sorry, but I failed my mission. I don't want to come back here. And you wouldn't believe what happened to me, really. That is something I will never forget in my life. I went in the plane, coming back, and I was waiting to go to the toilet, and there was this elderly Jewish lady who came to me, looked at me, and she said, I would like to speak to you. And I didn't want to talk to anybody. Honestly, I was so blocked in myself. But because she was elderly, I felt I should show a bit of respect. And so coming back from the toilet, I sat down with her. And she said to me, you know, I wanted to talk to you because I saw you in my dream. Can you believe? I was shocked because I really felt God wanted me to listen to her. And he could listen to my prayer, because it was really from the sincerity of my heart when I was praying before I came back. And that elderly lady, she didn't understand much about peace. I mean, she talked about her fear, like what David said. And I never could imagine how fear could take, so much into a person. Afraid to get up in the morning, afraid to go to the marketplace, afraid to send a child, not being able to know if the child will come back, afraid to go to the bus, all the time living under fear. And I just finally, I brought on, I really could feel the vulnerability of that person. And this fear can become paranoid, and then it makes sense. When Israel is hit one day, hit 100 times more, but it's fear. And God wanted to show me something, and I really felt tears coming out of my eyes, because I really realized, my gosh, it's a lot of work to be done, to tackle all of that if we want peace one time. And I went back. I said, okay, I think God wanted me to go back. And when I went back, I went altogether, I think 7 times to the Holy Land. And I had the most amazing experience. And from there on, I met wonderful people, both sides. And we could really do something together, pray together. Like-minded people wanted peace, you know. And there are lovely people there, both sides. It's a lot to do with the government, but there are a lot of people who don't agree with what is going on. And I realized that. And so, at that time, the first time, we met an amazing group. It's called the Bereaved Family Forum. So there are people, both sides, who lost especially their children through the conflict. And they're amazing people because they can swallow up their pain and turn into a power of forgiveness and non-violence. They don't want any fighting, any war, anything for the future for their children. So they are committed and they are ready to work together. So in Israel, they go 2 by 2 to schools to speak to young people and to explain the impact of violence in their life, what has happened to lose a child, to lose a brother or a sister, that the young people can think deeply. And then we were so moved by that, and we decided to sponsor 2 of them to come to Birmingham. Tamara and Ali. Tamara was an elderly Jewish lady. Her son was killed in suicide bombing, and Ali was a young Palestinian his elder brother, who was like a father for him, was shot in the head at a checkpoint. But you know, they became like mother and son. It was the most moving thing. We went to many schools. They stayed for 10 days. We went to many schools. You know, we went to the synagogue, to the mosque. We went even to the University of Birmingham and Coventry. And it was such an amazing experience for the young people. And I think that's what the young people need, is to find hope. Because killing is not a solution. It is absolutely, also there's justice. There's something that has come about. It has to stop. But for the future, you know, and that is one of our hope. We really would like to sponsor again, you know, for them to come and speak to our young people. I think some of them perhaps were there at that time, and we continue to help the Bereaved family, you know, on a practical level. So that was Ali and Tamara at our peace meeting here. So that is one experience that I had which was really stays with me very deeply. And another experience, it was quite a while ago, you know, at our peace meeting, there's a lot of things going on. We say peace meeting, it's not always nice and pink and beautiful. There is a lot of tension there. But people, they are able to sit between each other because they want peace. Otherwise, they would never come beside each other. It's Muslim and Christian, Hindu, Muslim, there's a lot of tension. They come to me often, you know, and I always say to people, you have to try to look at the good, whatever the circumstances, all the things, as human beings, we come together, right? And we had a peace meeting. That was the first time when there was the attack in Gaza. I don't know if you remember, it was pretty bad at that time. I don't know when it was. And you know, David mentioned about Marjorie, my Jewish friend. She was an advocate for the Palestinians. I don't know if you remember her. She would always come to the peace meeting, and she would always apologize what her people did. And her daughter was teaching in Ramadan. So these kinds of people are amazing. But also we had a very special guest, and her name was
Manal.
Manal, yeah. And she was from Gaza. Don't know, perhaps some of you were there at that time. It was a while ago. And what happened to her, she was in Coventry, and from the television she saw a house in the Holy Land, 2 houses bombed. That was her relative who died. 15 of her family members died there. She became like crazy. She was full of bitterness and full of hatred. I remember that because I knew I was trying to just help her a bit, but I couldn't say very much. Her Jewish friend, she had a Jewish neighbor, they were always very good friends. And her Jewish friend, every day she would try to bring some food to her, and she would always close the door. And it took her a while. I mean, she would always there to try to keep in touch with her. And in the end, she opened the door, and they embraced each other. And she came to speak at our peace meeting, and at that time, it was her experience when she tried to go to Gaza to pay tribute for the people who died. And they were not allowed, because she was here, citizen, she was not allowed to go to Gaza, but she still tried. And it was she set up a special project, 1 million candles, candles of hope for peace. Because they knew her story, she went in social media, and all over the world people will light some candle that particular day. And she took candle with her that some people gave to her, and she went to Israel, and she was determined to go through to visit her people who died. And at the wall, the soldier didn't want to get her. He had order, he couldn't get her go through. And then she was a young person, and she told her story, you know, and I think it melts his heart. And then she put her candles here, close to the wall, and she asked the soldier to say a prayer with her, and he said a prayer with her. And then you wouldn't believe what happened. At that time, there was a rainbow came into the sky over the wall, and it felt like all her prayers were taken over, that she could go there through the prayer. And I really believe, because that soldier, you know, tried to be with her, and at that time he had some realization in his heart as a young person feeling the suffering of that mother. And I can tell you, when she shared that with us, I can never forget it. So this was my life here, and this is my life. She's quite young. I keep in touch with her. She is really a peacemaker. You know, she fights for peace, and that is my friend. So that's one story. Another story, also very interesting. It was the story of 2 women, Elena and Ibtisam. And Elena, I knew Elena was from my peace activity, and she's from Israel. And her son was a victim of a suicide bombing. And he was at the hospital, he was dying. And she prayed to God, if he come out of it, she will work for peace. And you wouldn't believe that he came out. And then she went for a conference. She was very much for this kind of thing, for peace and reconciliation. She came to a conference in Cove, organized by Initiative for Change. And she was put in a room with a Palestinian woman, Ibtisam. Amazing. And they built friendship with each other. They became friends. And then she remembered her prayer. And she said, why don't we do something together and work together? And they create, because women can do that, you know. They create a beautiful, it's called Interfaith Women Encounter in Israel and Palestine, and it's still going on. And it's the voice of women crying out for peace. And they meet, even it's very dangerous sometimes, especially on the Palestinian side, very dangerous to meet. But they meet and they share their story with each other, and they go and they do prayer for peace. Amazing people, and you can see how God works in their life. It's really very, very touching. That is them. I don't know if you remember, they came to speak at the perhaps, Yasmin, you remember, you were there at the convent. We had a lot of people there, and they came to speak at our peace meeting there, yeah. And then the last person I want to share is my friend Reem from Gaza. I think you must have met her. She came a few times to our peace meeting. And I know Reem for 20 years, to be honest, long, long time. And she came here, she left Gaza and she came as a lawyer. And she had difficulty to find a job and she did different things. But we have very, very solid friendship. And when all these things were happening in Gaza, my heart was just so broken. So I took care of her. I would go sometime and see her, bring her some flowers, just to be there, you know, and try to listen to her pain. And she lost 60 of her family members and a lot of modern children, my cousin and nephews and niece, 60. And still some are really in danger. And to listen to Reem told me a lot how she coped with her life. And she came to speak here at a peace meeting one time, and we were absolutely so shocked and moved to see how she can cope. She said the people of Gaza are very resilient, very strong people, because they had to go through so much. And they are very deep faith, you know, and they leave it in God's hands, but they will never complain. So when she called her relative, they will ask her, how are you, Reem? How is your family? They will never talk about themselves. They don't want to talk about their hardship, because if they begin to talk, they collapse, right? And that's their mechanism of coping and keeping going. It's just still in the middle of all that. Reem say, we have always something to be grateful for. It's amazing. And she does that in her own life. In the beginning, she was really falling apart, and bit by bit, she worked on herself. And she doesn't have any resentment or anything. She just, you know, she just tried to cope and be grateful for many things that she has herself, and try to be strong to be able to help her people. So for me, yeah, this is was really such a lesson, you know, because we can mourn and then be revengeful, but in the end, it perhaps it helped to distress, but for long term it doesn't help. It doesn't really help, and it creates more and more, multiply revenge and negative energy. She's an amazing. I was thinking to invite her, but she was busy today, to listen to her story. Amazing. And then when we came out of our peace meeting, we said, well, how can we complain about anything when we hear this kind of people going through so much and still, you know, still try to be positive about something in their life, you know, to keep going. Often they have strong faith. And then the last thing, maybe, on my recently, because of all the event and with the Ramadan and the Iftar, we had the chance to organize with the Al-Mahdi a big Iftar at the Al-Mahdi Institute. I think some of you were here with us. And it was so nice, because they really trust all our interfaith work. We had a lot of peace interfaith event there, especially when there's conflict, we go there and pray together, all the faiths, which is really, really quite touching. And we did that, the big iftar, so we tried to organize it and find all our interfaith speakers there. And also many people came, you know, from different faiths, so to come together and to recognize the devotion, you know, of people and share together a meal. So that was really, really, really lovely experience. I think anything to come together, make friends with each other, is very important. That's a step towards peace, where we are here, and it create good energy. It's like a prayer, you know, to have there. And then the last thing also, it was amazing. I was helping Nissan Hashim to organize a big iftar at a synagogue. So the synagogue opened their synagogue and invite Muslim refugees. They were doing a lot for refugees, for their iftar to open the fast. Isn't that hopeful when you see that from this side? Anyway, there's an effort, you know, from quite a few people. to try to open and try to show the solidarity. And then in the end, I just want to finish. I was thinking a lot about forgiveness. It's just it's hard to talk about forgiveness. I think it's for our own personal life. We have a lot of things. We speak about war everywhere in the world, but sometimes we have bitterness and revenge towards one person, or we are at war, in ourselves, or it could be in our family, or with some people we can't get along, and we carry that with us. It's just such a negative thing, and that stops us to be free, in our heart to love, and that's what Christian read, from Desmond Tutu. We are prisoners in ourselves because of that, and the enemy is our jailer. We are prisoners. They perhaps they don't bother, but it's us who are suffering from that. So in our Women's Village, we have a very good program. It's called Leadership of the Heart. And one of the things about emotional maturity and about forgiveness. I just want to share in the end about, if we really feel heavy in our heart, if we feel just that it creates such a headache for our life, I think we should stop. And decide, okay, no, I want to be free, I want to forgive that person, whatever it is. And we have to make a decision. It doesn't come like that, otherwise we have to make a decision. And then we have to find somebody to share all our emotion or suffering or pain to somebody, because we have been hurt. Perhaps we can't do it to the person who hurt us, because we don't want to be hurt again, and perhaps that person will not react to anything, not understand. If we can find somebody where we can really pour our heart, and that person can really understand and apologize, for what we have experienced. And then, if we can find ways to find some peace in ourselves, in nature, or prayer, or meditation, or yoga, or journaling, or art, or anything, to find some peace and to bring God more, to help us to find that peace. And I think with time, we will begin to feel stronger, right? And we will begin to understand perhaps why that person did that to us, that God will help us, to understand. And I think it's a whole process. It's not easy, but I think it's vital, for our own personal life, to be free in our heart. Otherwise we carry that and we pass it on to the next generation, to be honest. Sometimes there's so many deep hurts, so we can think about all the situation in the world and escape to that, and be a peacemaker. But unless we also solve our own personal life, this is where everything begins, And perhaps another time I can share more about this leadership of the heart. It's such a good thing. And I apply that myself. I must say it really helped me a lot to decide, okay, that's it, no, I don't want to continue like that. I really want, and in every person, there's always something good and bad, like in ourselves. If we look at it, after a while, we will see more the goodness in that person and more understanding, why that person is behaving like that. Perhaps a reason from the childhood, from the past, from the history, and then we can be a bit more forgiving, understanding. Yeah. So I just want to finish. Where did I put that? With this letter, it really moved me. Where is it? It must be here. From one of from the bereaved families. And one of it was I think a Jewish mother, and she lost her child, and she write to a friend who is Muslim friend, and she say, dear neighbors, these are terrible days for us all, and I'm sitting mourning for my beloved elder son, 20 years old, Yanni, a boy with kind eyes that saw every human being. And my heart is sheltered into peace. Within this terrible grief and bereavement, I want to say to you that I see you. I know that these are terrible days for you, days of fear and dread. I'm writing to tell you that I want only good for you, and that I'm worried about you like I'm worried about us all. I wish you could be there with me during the mourning week, to cry with me for Yanni, just as I wanted to come and cry with the Mansari family when Ahmed was killed. Ahmed, like my son Yanni, was young and beautiful, with kind eyes. I am in pain, deep pain, But I want to tell you that within this pain, my heart is open to you. I hope this cursed situation will somehow bring our two nations to at last learn how to live together with mutual respect, so there may be no more pains, Israeli and Palestinian, that must grieve for their sons and daughters. There is no other way. I was thinking just if we could have 1 minute silence and pray for all what is going on in our world, that would be really good.